Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by Lions.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are kicking off this work week with a 7-game slate here. Some fun stuff to choose from. Not all of the best teams in the NBA are playing tonight, but we will still get into all this action for you guys. In this one, we're taking a look at what we think is going to be at least decent matchup here. Portland playing host to the Spurs. We're looking at some totals in this one. Also got another game video up and our player props. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page and follow along with us all season long. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where you can check out all of our great written content and use our odds finder tool. That's where we go ahead and give you guys the options there. All the US sportsbooks offerings so you can compare the best odds out there. Nate, let's go ahead and get into this 7-game slate and then talk about Blazers and Spurs.
Josh, the people don't care that much how entertaining it is as long as we deliver some winners.
Right.
And we've got some pretty good picks here for these late games. But yeah, I mean, it opens with Celtics -8 at Orlando. They had that weird back-to-back losses against the Magic, and they're down 3 guys, I think, Smart, Brogdon, maybe Rob Will, in this matchup. The Bucks expect to get Chris Middleton back. They're -11 at Detroit. Giannis also going to come back, it seems, after taking the last 12 days off to rest his knee. Memphis -5.5 at Houston, which has lost 13 straight. The Hawks in a pick'em at the Bulls. Spicy one there, 239 total. Also a 239 total in Utah. Charlotte +8 with LaMelo questionable. And then the 2 games we break down, I mentioned, Spurs are +8 at Portland, 241 total. And then we'll get to this one later. Memphis -1.5 at Sacramento with a 246 total. So, I mean, we're just going to focus on this one right here. And the Blazers on a back-to-back have lost 3 straight, have gone under in all 3. And we almost can guarantee that they can bounce back here against the Spurs team that's lost 7 straight road games, is missing either their best or second best player in Devin Vassell right now. Second best, you still got Keldon Johnson because Vassell's far more effective.
KJ,
but I mean, the Spurs defense has been abysmal, as we know in general, but especially on the road. I mean, they're allowing 129 in their last 7 roadies here with a 126 defensive rating. So that's why we have a 241 total, despite Portland's clear struggles on offense lately. I mean, outside of Dame Lillard, Simons finally came alive, hit 7 threes last night. They still only got to 112 against the Lakers, who we've been targeting as a team that's trending downwards in terms of their points and their pace. But Portland as well, playing at a slower pace. The last time they hosted the Spurs, 96.5 pace. The game totaled 227, despite Portland shooting 47%, hitting 15 threes. Despite 31 points from Jakob Poeltl, who's not necessarily repeating that. And if he is starting to go off, the Spurs will probably bench him so they can continue their tank job. And 21 from Vassell on efficient shooting. And again, he's out tonight. So Spurs, awful defensive numbers recently, but look at who they played. I mean, Memphis twice in a row on the road. The Knicks have been surging. The Nets, when they had KD, Shea, and the Thunder, and the Pelicans, who always seem to light them up. And with Portland, you got to look at the short rest and how they kind of respond to these issues. Not being able to score as much, I see their defense sparking more. I mean, they're allowing 107.5 on back-to-backs this year, 4 and 3 to the under. I'm surprised more of those haven't gone under. They certainly haven't had 240 totals. They're also 5 and 2 on back-to-backs. So I think they win this game, and I think they win it mostly with defense. I mean, there's just not a lot to worry about with the Spurs offense, especially Vassell out. They'll slow it down a little bit here, trust their half-court D. I think you can take Portland money line plus under, or you can tease it -4, and they get that total all the way to 245, which should definitely go under there.
Yeah, quick note about Devin Vassell. They definitely have a much, they're better and more efficient on offense, but without him, for some reason, they've been scoring a bit more in the 29 games that they've played with him. They've got 6 points less per game. I don't really do too much with that. I actually just supporting your argument. Actually, I'm supporting my argument that KJ is more important for their team, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We are happy to take a lack of points on Portland. I do get scared with how bad San Antonio is on defense. Every time we talk about them or we bring up a player prop, involving a player that's going up against the Spurs, we just talk about how they're close to dead last in pretty much every single defensive category, if not dead last. And that continues to be the case, which is the only thing that you really get scared about. I mean, they've gone over in 14 of their last 17 games since early December right now, have the Spurs. They're scoring 117, they're allowing 123, and that's what you get scared of. I mean, I like taking an under on Portland on a back-to-back where they actually, they expended a lot of energy as the Lakers came back on them to win that game last night as they scored 35 in the fourth, and Portland only had 21 in that quarter. They actually gave up 40 in the third as well to the Lakers. So they were hemorrhaging points to the Lake Show, who still were playing at a pretty normal pace, especially for them, not like fast, not nearly the 104 that we've seen them put up at times in terms of pace. So that just makes you scared on both sides. Like, both these teams can't really D up, and that continues to be the reason that Portland's definitely underachieving. The Spurs are probably achieving exactly where they want to be achieving, but 2-8 in their last 10 overall are the Blazers. 2-4 at home, 3-7 to the over. So they've got, under in 7 of those. There's some pretty high totals in there, pretty much like we've got here at about 241.5. But their offense has just been so bad. 44% from the field, 31 from deep, and that includes Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and Dame all combining to shoot like 23 threes a game. They've only been making like 6 of them over their last 10, but they're also 24th in points in the paint. San Antonio allows the most points in the paint. They're 26th in second chance points. San Antonio allows the most second chance points. What we're saying here is San Antonio can't defend the paint or rebound. And even since Pirtle has come back over their last 8, that still continues to be the case for them. The one thing that the Blazers have been doing is getting to the free throw line a ton as Dame's been scoring and getting there about 10 times a game or so, but second in free throw attempt rate. But the Spurs have been limiting free throw attempt rate, probably because they play a lot of Ole defense around the paint and don't foul you, and that's why they're giving up the most points. So I think there's a direct correlation there. But 9th in points off turnovers for the Blazers. The Spurs do get back a bit. Once again, they're giving up such a high percentage from the field that there's probably not too many transition buckets available for the Spurs, so I don't think you got to worry about that. So I think anywhere that you're not, neither of these teams are necessarily vulnerable in places that they're good, right? There's no glaring matchup where it's like, oh, if the Spurs don't get back on defense, the Blazers are going to run them to death. There's nothing like that. The Blazers are still scoring shooting the three ball. It's such a bad clip for them that it's something that they clearly need and are going to rely upon when your backcourt is Dame and Anthony Simons. That's just what to expect at that point. So pace matters, but really it's just like shooting. And the Blazers have been down to a bottom 5 team in effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage. We know they continue to struggle from deep, like we said, other than Simons finally getting his shot last night, but still, right, like that wasn't even enough to get over 112. And then the Spurs, they're not shooting threes, and so there's no as long as the Blazers are sort of getting back in the event that they continue to sort of miss buckets, and they haven't been giving up points in transition, so I think they're fine there. Then I don't really know how the Spurs score on them. Definitely not in the half court, and I feel much better about a 241.5 under with a Blazers money line, because I just don't trust them at all right now. I think the Spurs could keep this within 8 points, but the Blazers pull it out at home.
Yeah, and in wins, the Blazers are allowing 109 this season. So, I mean, if you don't, and again, the back-to-back 107.5, they've now on 3 straight losses, kind of a backs against the wall situation where you expect them to D up, and they do have great defenders still. And so if you're having all these concerns about Portland in their last 10 being one of the 5 worst offensive teams, then, what scenario do you think, if they can lock up and hold the Spurs, who have been awful on offense in these games? 114.5, a 112 rating, but if it's played below a 100 pace, are they getting to 114? I don't think so. I mean, I think I could look at their team under if you are concerned because of how bad they are defensively, and because sometimes they don't even try on the road. So maybe if you are concerned about what we're talking about another up and down game, you just take the Spurs under, which is still pretty high here. And because most of the trends we're finding here is that the Blazers slow it down at home. They've slowed it down lately in their last 6 home games, playing at a pace of 96.5. that the Spurs
Yeah.
cannot hit threes against them or really anyone. They don't get to the free throw line. And that the Blazers, their offense has been inconsistent. That's why I like the under in general. And even though everything you mentioned about the Spurs and how they've gone over in all these 17 games, still averaging 240. So they're not, as long as they don't go above average what they are, this total is just a tick too high. And there's definitely a scenario where they get shut down, kind of like when they went to Portland and they got 110, is not really going to carry you to an over.
Yeah, they shot so piss poor in that game. Did the Spurs and the Blazers? They scored that 128 because they were shooting way better. They played much faster than, as we've said, than they've been playing, especially at home. I mean, they've been playing with a 99 pace at home on the season, but even just in their like last 5 or so, they've slowed it down all the way to like the 19th fastest pace. They're still playing under 98, roughly around a 97.5 pace. And like you said, if you're playing at a 97.5 pace with the Spurs and they aren't getting 115 possessions, 110 possessions, then I don't know how, the Spurs, like we said, get offense outside of just pushing, go. And the Blazers have been getting back enough and slowing it down enough that I think they'll be all right. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Got another couple videos up for you to kick off the week. So until we see you next, happy betting.